This video will show you how to do linear regression using your TI calculator. So what we're going to do first is enter our data. So let's go ahead and do that. And to do that, you're going to go to the stat key. So stat for statistics, and then we're going to edit. So you can either hit the number 1 or you can arrow down to whatever number you want and hit enter. So at this point you can either hit 1 or enter. And then you should have L1, L2, L3. If you don't, you can go back to stat and then go down to number 5 and do setup editor, hit enter, and then hit enter. And then when you go back to stat edit, you should see the L1, L2, and so on. If you don't, please contact me. So what we want to do is clear out these columns. You can write over them, but sometimes you may have a lot more numbers than this. So to do that, you're going to arrow up, hit clear, and then arrow down, and it will clear the column. And I'm going to arrow to the right and do the same here. So I'm going to arrow up, hit clear, and arrow down. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to enter my data. So in L1 would be your X. So I'm going to go look over here and look at my X values. So I have 1, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then 3, and enter. You can also arrow down, 5, enter, 7, enter, and then 9. And then I'm going to arrow over to the next column, and then I'm going to put my Y values. 6, 12, 16, 20, and then 26. Once you get the data and you want to go back and double check and make sure that you didn't make a mistake, because you could do everything else from here on correctly, but if you have one data point that's off, it will generate the wrong answer. So what we're trying to do is find a line that goes through these data points or very close to it. Now in some problems it asks you to go ahead and create the graph or plot it or match it up. So to plot this, you need to go ahead and turn on stat plot. So you're going to do second stat plot, and then you want to turn it on. So if yours isn't on, you're going to hit number 1, and then if it's over here on off, you're going to move over to on and hit enter, and then you can do second quit. Alright, so you have to turn your stat plot on to get it to plot the data points. And then the easiest way is to do zoom, and then if you scroll down, you will see number 9. So right here, zoom stat. So what we'll do is we'll look at your data and pick the best dimensions for your graph. So you're going to go ahead and hit 9, and then you'll see that this is pretty close to this. Now, the reason it's not exact is because of the scale. So if I went over to window and I really wanted to match this graph here, I could start at 0, and then my x's are going by 1s. So that's already there. It's going up to 10. So I'm going to put that for my x max, so my min, max, scale. And then my y min, I'm starting at 0. And then I'm going all the way up to 30. And the scale on that one is also 1. But they have those minor tick lines, so maybe all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try 2. And then I'm going to hit graph, and there you go. So it's a little bit closer, so it's just your window's just squished down a little bit more, but it is the same. So if you do need to graph the data points or need to plot them, this is how you would do it. After you're done using it, make sure you go back to second stat plot and then go to number 1. Whoops. So second stat plot and go to number 1, and then make sure you turn it off. I'm going to leave mine on for a minute because I'm going to show you something else at the end. So now what I want to do is find the equation. So I'm going to go back to stat, and I'm going to go to calc, and then linreg for linear regression. I'm going to choose number 4. Okay. Now most screens will look like this. They'll see linreg ax plus b. Then you just hit enter and you'll get your results. Otherwise, you might have a few lines here, and the last one says calculate right about here. Go ahead and arrow down to calculate and hit enter, and then we'll be at the same point and we'll have this. Now this tells you here your A is your slope. So when we're doing linear regression and algebra, we have the letter M, but when you're doing statistics, you use the letter A. Same exact thing. So here is your 2.4 for your slope. So 2.4. And then we need an x. So um, our variable is x. And then the last thing we need is our um, y-intercept. So that is our plus. And then you want to pay particular attention. It says use integers or decimals for any numbers in the expression. Um, round to the nearest tenth as needed. So this one is terminated at the tenth, so that's fine. And then this one, we don't have any decimal places, so 4 is just fine. So we're going to go ahead and cross our fingers and check our answer. And then we've got it here correct. Now, what this means again is that we just found an equation that goes pretty close to these points, and it's the closest we can get. And again, the data points aren't perfectly linear, so the line most likely won't go through any of the points. So if I go over to y equals, and then I put in 2.4, and then here's your x key, plus 4, and then we go ahead and hit graph. You'll see how this line goes through some of the points, and this again, this is the line of best fit or your linear regression line. Now you're not going to have to do this step, but if you want to double check your work and make sure your line looked reasonable, you go ahead and put that in. And then again, when you're done plotting these data points, you're going to go back to stat plot, so second stat plot, choose number 1, and then arrow over to off. Otherwise, if you try graphing later, there may be a conflict with your windows and you might get an error message. And if that happens, go ahead and shut off your stat plot. And then we can go ahead and second quit. Alright, so let's try one more. So I'm going to head over to problem number 23. So what I'm doing is working problems in your study plan. So you're always welcome to go to your study plan for more practice. It's not graded, but it does adjust as you work on problems and tries to tell you which problems that you need more work on. But then again, even if you're not sure if you need any more work, you can go ahead and just go ahead and practice problems if you want to see additional problems. So we're going to go ahead and put this data set in, and it says find a linear model that approximately fits the data using x as the number of years after 1985. So what this is telling us is we're not going to use 1985. We're going to use 0 for 85, and then this is 5 years away, so we'll use 5, and then 10, then 20, and then we got to be careful, this one's 23, 24, 25. So we're going to go back to edit. Now we can write over these data points if we have more, or we can clear them. So I tend to clear them to make sure I don't leave a straggler. And then, so arrow up, clear, and down. And then we're going to use 0 for 1985, and then 1990 is 5 years away. And then we're 10 years away with 1995. And you may want to write this out before you put in. So there's 15, and actually I think I said something wrong before. So 0, so this is 5, 10, 15. This is actually 18. So disregard what I said a moment ago. 18, 19, and 20. Okay. So 2005 is 20 years away. So you always want to double check your work and make sure that you didn't miss anything. And then we'll put the data points in. So 25.4, and then enter or arrow down. And 29.4, 30, oops, 2.1. I try to hurry, but the calculator doesn't keep up well. 30.6, 24.2, 37.5. Okay. So again, you want to take a step back and make sure that you put in everything correct, because if anything's even slightly off, you'll get a wrong answer. And if you did everything correctly, there's no way for the program to know that you did have it right. It was just a typo. Alright, so again, 5 years away, 10 years away, 15 years away, then 18 away from here, and then 19, and then 20. So let's go ahead and try this one. So we're going to go back again to Stat, Calc, and we're going to choose number 4. And again, your screen may look like this, or you may have the word Calculate down here. If you have Calculate, arrow down on top of Calculate, and then hit Enter. And then here is our slope, and here's our y-intercept. So we need to read here, round to 3 decimal places as needed. So you want to be very careful. And I have 0.33, and then the last one is going to be 4, right? And then x, and then watch for any negatives in here. Okay, if the data is going up, then it's positive. And it's usually crossing the y-intercept at a positive value, but not always. But you want to watch for those negatives because they're very hard to see. And then we're going to do plus, and then we have for b 25.126. Okay, and then this is where we cross our fingers, hit check answer, and fantastic.